Welcome to Michelle's Podcast News, your daily update on the latest happenings in the podcasting community. I am your host, Michelle Tandler. Today we have some exciting updates from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and MacStories. Let's dive in. First up, Spotify is rolling out a new feature that is sure to excite both podcasters and listeners. To compete with YouTube's growing dominance in the podcasting space, Spotify has added the ability to comment on podcast episodes directly within its app. This new comments feature builds on the existing Q&A and polls capabilities that Spotify introduced back in 2021. According to Spotify, 9 million unique listeners have engaged with these interactive features this year, marking an impressive year-over-year growth of 80% in interactions. But that is not all. The Spotify for Podcasters mobile app has been entirely redesigned to support podcasters on the go. This update includes new notification functionalities that alert creators about major milestones and listener feedback. Maya Prohovnik, Spotify's vice president of podcast product, emphasized the significance of the comments feature, noting its potential to turn podcasts into a more interactive medium. This interactivity allows listeners to engage in two-way conversations with hosts, significantly increasing listener retention and engagement. Prohovnik stated, "Comments have been a long-requested feature from both podcasters and Spotify listeners, and we were excited to provide it since we are very invested in making Spotify the best platform for all types of creators to connect with their biggest fans." Every podcast creator, regardless of their size or ambition, wants to grow their audience and deepen those relationships. Interactivity features are a meaningful way for them to do both. She added, "We have found that listeners who interact with a show are 4 times more likely to return to that show within 30 days. They also listen to twice as many hours per month on average than those who do not. So there is really something special and something tangible in enabling this connection." Spotify is making these moves to close the gap with YouTube, which has overtaken Spotify and Apple to become the top platform for podcast listening in the United States. According to new data from Cumulus Media and Signal Hill Insights, 31% of podcast consumers now prefer YouTube, surpassing Spotify's 21% and Apple's 12%. The introduction of the comments feature is a strategic effort by Spotify to reclaim some of its lost ground by fostering a more interactive and engaging podcasting experience. Next up, we have some exciting news for Apple Podcasts users. Apple has finally introduced a feature that allows you to share time-stamped links in podcast episodes. This new addition comes with the release of iOS 18 and is designed to make sharing specific moments in podcasts much easier. For those who have ever wanted to share a particular snippet of a podcast without making friends or colleagues listen to an entire 3-hour episode, this feature is a game changer. Time-stamped links have long been available on video streaming platforms such as YouTube and even on third-party podcast apps like Overcast. It is great to see Apple finally bringing this much-requested functionality to its native podcast app, one of the most popular ways people consume podcasts on their iPhones. So, how do you use this new feature? First, you will need to install the iOS 18 beta, which you can do by following the instructions provided on Apple's website. It is recommended to install the beta on a backup device to avoid introducing instability to your primary phone. Once you have iOS 18 installed, open the podcast app and play the episode you want to share. The episode will appear in the mini player towards the bottom of the screen. Tap the mini player to expand it, then hit the 3 dots icon to the right of the episode's name. Tap Share Episode to bring up the share sheet. At the top of the share sheet, you will see an option labeled From Start. Tap this to reveal 2 options, From Start and From Current Timestamp. Selecting the second option will automatically pick up the timestamp where you hit the Share button, creating a shareable timestamped link. The good news is that these links are compatible with older versions of iOS and macOS, so you can share them with people who have not yet updated their devices, and they will still be able to play the episode from the specified timestamp. There are a few quirks to keep in mind with this new feature. For instance, Apple Podcasts does not currently allow you to manually input a timestamp. Instead, you have to seek to the desired time, pause the podcast, and then hit the share button to choose the timestamp. This can be slightly inconvenient, and it is hoped that Apple will introduce a manual input option in future updates for greater flexibility. Another thing to note is that the timestamp will update in real time while you're on the share screen. For example, if you hit the share button at 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the podcast and then wait until 7 minutes and 30 seconds before tapping the From Current Timestamp option, option, the link will be timestamped for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. This real-time updating could be useful, but also requires a bit of attention to ensure you are sharing the exact moment you intend to. Lastly, we have some exciting news from MacStories. All MacStories podcasts are now available on their YouTube channel. While Comfort Zone is currently the only show that includes video, you can now listen to their audio-only shows via YouTube as well. MacStories has made it easy for listeners to access their content across multiple platforms. Whether you prefer using the YouTube app, YouTube Music, or the YouTube website, you can now enjoy all of their shows in one place. The audio-only shows include episode art in place of a video and provide access to show notes, just like in a dedicated podcast app. You can even add your favorite shows to the Your Podcast section of your YouTube library, ensuring you never miss an episode. This feature allows listeners to keep track of their favorite podcasts and listen to them on the web, the YouTube app, or YouTube Music. Federico and John from MacStories have previously talked about their plans to expand the brand's presence on YouTube. Adding the audio-only podcasts to their YouTube channel is another step in that direction, and there is still more to come. The channel has grown quickly since its launch alongside Comfort Zone, and with the addition of their 5 other podcasts, it has become a one-stop destination for their entire lineup of shows and their back catalogs. Here are the links to each show for you to explore: Comfort Zone, App Stories, NPC, Next Portable Console, Ruminate, Magic Rays of Light, and MacStories Unwind. Each podcast offers unique content and insight, making it worth checking out. That wraps up today's episode of Michelle's Podcast News. Thank you for tuning in to your daily update on the latest happenings in the podcasting community. I am your host, Michelle Tandler, and I look forward to bringing you more exciting news tomorrow. Have a great day.